First thing we notice is we're seeing so actually these maps I love trading these. And what these are, I guess like the way I think of them is they're kind of like two node maps, right? Where we basically just have a very large range. So, obviously on Eli Lilly, we have like 100 point range and we just have super strong floor, super strong ceiling, right? So these oftentimes are very simple because if we're inside the range, not if we're external, if we're internal to the range, this is a trade where you basically can just set an alert at each end, right? So what I'll do is I'll just go in trading view, set an alert on each side, and then go ahead and just wait, right? So you just see what side will tap. And again, you can give it a little bit of buffer. So if you want to sort of be prepared, where if you want to have some time to like prepare brokerage and all that, whatever, you can go ahead and like set the alert at 9:02, 9:05, like give it a little bit of cushion. I usually just set it at the node, because what I found is anytime I set it early, I would enter early and then just end up with some drawdown that I didn't feel like having. So that's why I ended up, I switched to setting it at the node itself. But we had here is very clear, Gex has showing ceiling and floor. If you look at the Vex, you're actually getting a pretty good correlation, right? Where you're seeing the Vex has a lot of volume at the same nodes, so you're getting this sort of confluence across the Gex and Vex. And this is something you can actually only see ahead of time, which I'll show as we replay the next day, actually. So what happens with Vex, right, is as Vex pushes to this 900 level, this volume won't actually show there when we're actually tapping it, right? So a lot of times when you're looking for this like Vex confluence, you actually need to check it when we're not near the node. So I'll show that yeah, let me flip to the next day and then I'll show that because obviously this was something you see pre-market, either pre-market Tuesday or Monday night if that's when you're charting. So then obviously what we see Tuesday, right, is we start dipping pretty hard, right? So what is, oh, there we go. All right, so we start dipping pretty hard and actually let me swap over to the Vex. What is going on? Why does this banner, wait, what is the difference? Why is this flipping up? Interesting. Wait, give me a second, y'all. I'm gonna screenshot this and send this to the developer. It's like a bug report. I've never seen that before. All right. Sorry about that. But anyways, once we're on the Vex, right, what we see is as price starts moving, you start pushing towards it, you'll see that the node basically fades out, right? So that's just something like that's the way the Vex behaves. So a lot of times the confluence on the floors and ceilings for the Vex, you actually don't see them when we're there. So that's just something I'll want to note, right? So when you look at the Vex and we're actually at a strong level, you won't notice in that moment, right? It's something that you kind of have to track beforehand. So it can make it a little bit trickier to track some of this stuff on the Vex. But a lot of times what the Vex is showing you is like directionally, right, where we have a lot of volume, right? But anyway, so a lot of times the Gex is, very clearly going to show that floor. And then, yeah, I mean, as you can see on the chart, right, like Tuesday, that's where we bottomed. We baked like maybe $1 under. Like this is one of the tightest, especially for, for Lily, where a ticker of this price a lot of times will overshoot pretty steep actually, like by $5, $10. So for it to bounce off like that precisely, I was pretty surprised honestly. And we got a $30 push even if you're just playing this as a zero DTE, and you want to exit same day, due to like all the uncertainty overnight. But then obviously with the pump we got due to news yesterday, then obviously this ran basically up to 960. And if you'll notice this 1000, and then another argument here, right, is this 900 is also a pretty strong psychological level, right? And if you looked in the past, like for your chart thesis, right, it was a bit lower, I would say. Like this support resistance flip was actually down at like 896. But we're tapping in very close to that, right, before we get this huge pop. So Eli Lilly, pretty strong play here, right? And then I'm trying to remember. The other one was maybe, no, it wasn't CoreWeave. I think it was OKLO. So OKLO, we had a similar situation. Yeah, it was OKLO. Yeah, these are the two I talked with. I forgot who I talked about these with, but they were really pretty good examples, so I wanted to highlight them. Honestly, I might make some recaps on these. So OKLO shows a little bit of a different principle. So it does show that we have a lot of GEX-VEX correlation. So if you're looking at this 45 and 50 level, right, we have, oh shoot. Oh my goodness. I left the replay mode. Sorry. Give me a second, y'all. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. So yeah, if you're looking at GEXFX, right, you're seeing that we have 1545 shown on both. What you'll also notice is that this is a level that's held very consistently, not just this week, but over several weeks. So a lot of times these actually are very strong plays where we have the GEX and the VEX showing very strong positioning. Like this is not only a floor this week, but also for the next couple weeks, right? So a lot of times these are extremely strong plays when you see something like this. So that's often something that I think John actually is really big on these, right? When you have these sustained levels. And I think if you look at some of his case studies, this is something that's present in a lot of his swing trades. So yeah, again, this is similar to before, right? Of like we have our range, pretty defined range. So just, we're gonna go set alerts on both sides and see what happens, right? So you'll see actually on Monday, we rejected off of 50, basically, right? So if you're looking at this Monday night, we had gapped down a little bit. We're sitting around 47. We dropped down and we tapped 45 to the dot basically and then bounce, right? Also, we're double bottoming if you're looking back a week, right? So we're taking out this low and then actually we didn't sweep it, but we're hitting very close to it. And then we got a very strong bounce off of that, right? So again, this is helped by news, but this reaction of 45, like this is still a $2 reaction within two candles, right? Like two 1 hour 2 hours and you're already getting this push of $2. This is like an incredibly quick reaction, right? And then even with the retrace and further pump, obviously, yeah, if you hold runners due to news, like this ended up pumping further. But even this initial move here of $2 is enough to make pretty nice profits there, right? Okay, yeah. So again, these are actually I probably won't make a recap. I might just splice this video and just throw these into a separate one.